So I wanted to back up to like one of the first blessings that we actually experience here, and that is the very blessing of being human. I wanted to talk about how being human itself is a fantastic blessing. So I say that even though many of us experience hardship. Commonly, many people experience hardship. Sometimes in life we feel overcome by the hardship of our lives and the pain. And it can be hard for us to recognize our blessings. In fact, we are all of us, no matter how well off we are in whatever way, no matter how much health or security or friendship or money or whatever we have in our lives, we tend to always think about the next thing and solving the next problem. And I would only be better if I could just do this, or if I just had this, or if this person would just treat me differently. We're always seeking and grasping. The hardships and the struggles and the pain are real experiences, okay? They're not to be taken lightly. I'm human too. And we should acknowledge exactly what we experience. But those hardships, those experiences occur within something greater, something far deeper and more fundamental than whatever ache or pain or hardship we are feeling at any given moment. We exist within a greater context. And it's hard to remember that when we are consumed by the human activities and the human concerns and the human needs every day, all the time. It seems like that's what we're always focused on. And we lose sight of the greater context in which we always exist. That is actually, in fact, the nature of being human. We just get wrapped up in these identities and in these issues and in these feelings and in this constraint. It becomes us, we become it. And we lose sight of the much more fundamental context which never goes away. And that context is, well, actually it's completely beyond words. It's completely beyond language. We have a few words we can just try to throw around. But that greater context is the context of spirit, love, God's context, the ultimate context in which we exist. In that context, who you and I truly are today and every day is love and peace and joy. That is who we are. We are powerful, creative beings. We are consciousness itself that has come, and freedom and love and joy are a part of what we are, and we've come to have this kind of experience here on earth. And here we are. So, this place that we're in right now can be very extreme. The constraints that we deal with here are extreme. But we have actually voluntarily, I know we don't remember making this choice, most of us, we have voluntarily taken a step into these extreme constraints. Why? Why on earth would we do that? If it's true, if we're really from some higher place and love and peace and joy and freedom are our true nature, why on earth, no pun intended, would we come here and do this and be this person and experience the potential hardship of this world and all the needs that seem to fall upon us every day? Why? Lately, I've been more out and upfront about sharing my pre-birth experience. I'm not going to speak about it in depth here, but I do want to shine light on the fact that being human is an absolutely profound opportunity and gift. It is the most precious, precious gift to be given the opportunity to come here and be this and experience this, to have this human walk with all of its context and all the constraints and all of the richness, the good and the bad. It is a gift. Why do we come? I can't possibly put ample words on this because it far transcends what words are capable of. We live in a world of form and duality. There's no form I can take and just hand it over. I can't do that. It's not how it works. But I'll say it at least this way. We come for the purpose of the expansion of love and joy through the integration of experience. We enter the world of form to be something specific and see how we can better express and expand our true loving and creative nature in and through that context. And the context of being human offers a very specialized and unique opportunity.
The word love in the English language is pretty sloppy. You know, we love everything from French fries to our mothers. So I'm going to try to describe this feeling using different words. In this non-physical state of being, there's a profound sense of belonging. Everything about everyone that exists is not only accepted, but admired, respected, recognized, and celebrated. There's a cooperative co-passion for being that permeates everything that I experienced. Everything there is effortless. It is just so easy. It's blissful, and it's filled with a joy that is so fundamental, it's only really remarkable from outside of that state of being. So imagine that everything you have ever thought, imagined, experienced, dreamed, or created was recognized to be valuable. To you, yourself, and to everyone else, to all that exists. Imagine that no matter what you do or how you express yourself, you belong and are valued. This is true. What was known to me, what was so basic as to be assumed, was just that we are each intrinsically valuable. And everything we experience matters, not just to ourselves, but to each other and to all that is. I use the phrase all that is instead of God, source, universe, whatever. A lot of those words have just personal connotations that limit my ideas. And so when I say all that is, it includes all that is. So that's the term that I'll be using. My experience is that we're always within and expressions of all that is, which is a beautiful force of infinitely curious and creative energy and awareness. How can we be anything but perfect? We are all that is, just as much as it is us. We are created by it, it creates us. We participate in it, it participates in us. We extend it, and it extends us. We are each individual expressions of the single infinite awareness. We are one, and we are each perfect, exactly as we are. We're so used to thinking in terms of hierarchies. The healer is more important than the addict. The teacher is more important than the arms dealer. These hierarchies of value are not real. I don't care how dull or weird or messed up we think our lives are here in the physical world. I can assure you that all of us are having a valuable experience. And I don't care how special we think we are. We are each uniquely special, every single one of us. Our experience extends and enhances everything that exists. We are each infinitely creative beings having an amazing experience just by being here. From the perspective out of body, it was understood that it takes some skill to even exist in the physical body, in the physical world. It takes a skill of focus to maintain consciousness within a physical body, and then to participate in a collective, cooperative, creative experience of being in this physical world. So we're all amazing. We're all jet pilots flying 50 feet off the deck, upside down. We are very cool. Just by showing up here. Just by showing up.
So a lot of near-death experience people will come back and they'll talk about the love. And isn't that kind of the most important part of it all? I was very fortunate that I have come back, and because of the work I've chosen to do, or been chosen to do, I have a lot of memories of what took place there. So I write books about it and I do talks about it. But the baseline is the love. that feeling of complete and utter acceptance and belonging, and the sense that everything's okay, that this works out just fine. And I don't care what you believe today or what the people you think should believe this way are believing, or what you used to believe in another lifetime, it all works out okay. And I had a man walk up to me yesterday after the talk, and he goes, you know, if everybody gets to go, because everybody gets to go, if everyone gets to go, what's the point? Why even do it? And I went, really? Is that really how you feel? And he goes, well, what's the point? What's the point in the exercise? And I'm like, the whole idea that you get to come here and forget that and find your way back is the ultimate board game. Do you know? And that you get to do it with all these strange preconceived notions, and then you get to do it with the influence. Anybody in here influenced by their parents growing up? Or their parents' choices or mistakes? Anybody have their perceptions of the world formed by adults who are just as crazy as you are? You know, we forget that. The ideas that we have about religion, the ideas that we have about what's proper in a family environment, have all been formulated by people who are screwed up. And that's what makes us so glorious, that we're all beautifully screwed up in some way or another. And I can offer my screwed upness to you, and you can offer your screwed upness to me, and you give me a whole new filter in which to view my life. How could there not be purpose in that? Isn't that awesome?
You know, one thing I learned, we all go to the same place. There is no heaven and there is no hell, and it was very obvious that earth can be heavenly for you or it can be hell for you, depending on the choices you make, depending on the things that you do, you know, the things that you believe. So yes, we can make earth a very hell place or a very heavenly place. Now, out of body, we can essentially do the same thing. We can attract ourselves to like energy and end up in a place that's more heavy or dense, or we can end up attracting, you know, higher energy, and we have that experience. And reincarnation, if you will, is us kind of agreeing upon coming down and playing this game. But we set up the challenges. This is why many challenges will come around and around. They're the same challenge, but they just come from, they just come from different faces. But it's the same thing, and we all have that, right? We can probably all relate, like, why does this keep happening to me? And that's why. But we're here to work on these challenges. And when I was outside my body, what really too became clear was that life was not necessarily a life to be lived to succeed, but it was more a game to be played, to be won. And when we look at life as more of a game, it's now become more of a journey. It becomes more of an adventure. And when you look at life as an adventure, now all that, there's a lot of like a negativity or heaviness that falls off. And we look at challenges as almost something we can gain from, not as a burden. You know, a lot of things happen to us and we just feel burdened by them. Why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening? We don't really realize that beyond these challenges is a stronger version of ourselves, that when we go through them, when we transcend these challenges, they stop coming around. They will come around later on just to see if you learned your lesson, but they really initially stop coming around because you've transcended them. You've beat those challenges. And as we begin to work on ourselves, which is another thing that was very clear to me, we're here to work on ourselves. So many people do not understand that concept of working on themselves, and that's what we're here to do. So we are here to work on ourselves. We're here to grow. We're here to expand. That was one of the main reasons why we have come here. We just have a veil. So we have been put in a state of amnesia, 100%. And we have this veil over us that we do not have access to past lives and past experiences, for the very reason that if we did have access, playing this game would be like playing this game with the cheat sheets. Now, I was lucky enough to be granted the cheat sheet to my own life. I saw the challenges, but I also saw the inner workings of life. I got to feel the people that I hurt. I got to feel their emotions. I got to feel their pain. I got to see that all of my actions, all of my words have effects on other people. And those effects will come around and we will have to pay for them. Another thing that became clear, karma is a very real thing. I had to pay up a karmic debt that was very large, and it took a long time to pay off, but I did fully experience what we call karma. And that's just the way it works. It's happening from outside of our perception, and it comes around at a certain time. It's always different for everyone, but it will come around, and you will have to, at some future point, feel what you made someone else feel. Karma is a tool. It's not a tool of punishment. It is a tool for growth. It is a tool for us to learn from, so that if we, feel what others feel that we do to them, then we're more likely to not do it again. So that's like the idea behind karma.
The experience of being human is incredibly unique. I know that we only remember the human part most of the time, but it is incredibly unique. It's very specialized. It's highly specific, super dense, super in the duality context, super rich, and a cognitive experience that is very unique. The idea of the ability to see the world from a human viewpoint. It's very unique, very, very, I don't want to use the word unusual, but it's a highly specialized experience. It's not like a run-of-the-mill thing. It's like getting in a spacesuit and going into outer space. You can do that. It's a pretty unique experience. Yes, it's highly constraining and very strange, but being human is a bit like that. It's entering an extreme experience of an extreme type of limitation, and here we are. But when we're seen from the other side for doing that, why do we do that? We're actually seen in a way that is full of love and respect, because we are seen as actually doing something extremely valuable by being here. That is seen plain as day. In fact, there's a near-death experience I love from a woman named Amy Call. In her near-death experience, she said that she could see that from the other side, all of us who had agreed to come and be human were seen as superheroes. To come and engage this rich context, to be willing to do that. Now, again, I can't speak to fully to why that opportunity is so profound, but I do want to draw attention to two ideas. The first is that there is a profound opportunity for personal expansion possible. For meeting this experience and having the opportunity to make choices within this experience, there is profound personal opportunity for experience and for growth, for integration of experience. And that integration of experience, that being who you are in this context, is incredibly additive and expansive. So to put it in another way, can you be the loving being that you truly are even here? Can you be kind when you've had a bad day and the person next to you is being grumpy? Or can you be strong when a situation calls for you to stand up for something, when it's easier to stay back in the corner? Can you actualize the truth of who you are in these what seem like mundane and common circumstances? See, the earth draws out, in a way, what we really are when we're met with this level of constraint. From the other side, it's easy to see the truth of the peace and joy and the knowing of who we are. It's another thing to come here and be you, to be human and have to eat and go to the bathroom and wipe your bottom, and all the things in our world that seem so, crass and simple or even annoying. Who is the I that applies that self into this context? When you do that, when you integrate that experience, when the constraints are then released, it can be seen, oh my goodness, it was a precious opportunity. Every single hour, every moment, every day was an incredible, incredible opportunity to be there for others, to help, to grow, and to be your full self here. Because when you can do it here, man, wow, how much greater you forever are for having experienced this and integrated this. Again, it's extremely hard to articulate, but there's an expansion of being which lasts past the physical. The physical is temporary. Your body is not going to run forever. It's like a car, it breaks down eventually, sometimes piece by piece. Eventually, it's not going to work anymore. And when it doesn't work anymore, you will still be there. And in fact, you will be more you, because now you're not stuck in the car. I'm not saying we're not actually stuck in the car. The car is experiencing within us, is being experienced within that which already exists. But as a way to put it, when death occurs and the constraints are lifted, who you truly are is known. It can be seen plainly, and you are free. Free. And it's like, oh my gosh, I never was those aches and pains. I never even was male or female. I was me. And I experienced these things and got to make all these choices. Wow. What an amazing gift.
And in that moment, I remembered that my soul chose to come to earth. I remembered where I was before I was born. I remembered that all of our souls choose to come here, that this is a wonderful university, that we're not here by random accident, we're not here as victims, that we come here to choose, to study, to learn, and to grow. And that on some level, this is like a wonderful theater. It's like a big university, we all play our part, and when our time to go comes, we leave. Because we are in a great place of transition on the earth. We're rising into a whole new dimension. We're really ascending our spiritual bodies on earth, and it's no accident if you're living now, no matter how hard your life may be. You are on earth, you have a purpose, and we are here to co-create heaven on earth. We are here to share and to heal each other into the light. And so if I'm connecting with you today, I just want you to know that you're a beautiful being of light. You're a true soul that comes from another place. This is far beyond religion or mumbo-jumbo semantics or anything else. And you have the opportunity to trust your soul, to have faith and beauty in yourself, and to know that if you have lost a loved one, that you can know that they have gone home, and that when they leave their physical body, they are no longer in pain, no matter how much they suffered from an accident or an illness or whatever has happened to them that may cause you worry or fear. They are out of their body and they are free in the light.
I know now what love is, and I know that this is a temporary existence, and we're here to learn things and to teach others, and then we'll go home. And so I don't have a fear of death, and I think that helps me with my mediumship, because I try to explain to people that, what they've done is their soul has left their body, because the body no longer serves them anymore. But it was just a suit of armour that they wore when they were down here, so that their soul could get around and do the things that it wanted to do and share the knowledge that it was getting. But it was only a temporary shell. And so when their soul goes, it goes home, and it goes home to love. And there is no ego up there at all.
I knew him as Uncle. And I remember thinking, I don't have an uncle that looks like him. And he looked down at me and he said, you're not supposed to be here. It's not time for you to be here. And I remember looking up at him and saying, but I want to be here. And I had no conscious thoughts of where I'd come from or anything. I mean, it wasn't a matter of getting away or in lieu of. It was just, with all my heart, I wanted to be there. I wanted to come. I wanted to go home. And I was happy. And he took a pause, and he kind of, you could see him thinking about something and deciding whether to say something next. And with that, my memory, there was a picture placed in my head of a memory of my original agreement of why I had come to earth to begin with. And it was like I remembered, and I went, oh, right. I think one of the things that I've thought about greatly is that one of the things that bothers me so tremendously about the metaphysical movement, in lieu of my experience, and in lieu of what I was shown, which I think, if there's any message that I can give, it's not about meditating and leaving your body and taking your light being out of this earth. Indeed not. It is about bringing the light into this earth. Stay here. Be an anchor. Let the light come in through you into this world. Don't abandon this world. We need you. We need you here. We need you to be present. And we need you to be open, with an open heart. It reminds me, in a very silly way, of the book called Horton Hears a Who. Everybody must be open. To bring this new age in, it is about opening your heart and letting it sing through you. It is coming. And it's a matter of all of us. Just open your heart and let it come in. Don't leave. Don't meditate and think this place is a bad place and we're going to get out of here. This is a wonderful place. And it's going to be even more wonderful. You're here to anchor the light so it can come into this dimension and be here.
Out of my near-death experience, I learned that your uniqueness is your value. And your value, that's your contribution on this earthly journey. And it's the most empowering, beautiful, wonderful thing, because each and every one of us are unique. And all the power that you need, all the answers, all the gifts, they're within. And those gifts, once you can identify those gifts and you grow those gifts, those beautiful gifts that make up your uniqueness, and you use those gifts here on your earthly journey, that's your contribution. And then you take other people and their gifts, and we're all different. That's part of God's plan. And we come together with our different, beautiful, amazing gifts. And we work together with those different gifts. And together, that's when we'll do great things. And we'll change the world.
When we're first come into soul form, and all of us did it millenniums ago, we were in unconditional love. And the reason this source, God, prime being, whatever you want to call the original energy, broke us off is because it was perfect. And you know, if you live in an area, say you live in the North Pole and you know nothing but snow and ice, you don't know what it's like to bask in the sun on a Florida beach, unless you try it. So Source was sitting up there, perfect and everything else, but it just said, what does this mean?
I get it.
So the souls came into being so that Source could find what it was not. Because completely positive is back home in unconditional love, where we can't learn anything. So we have to come down to the negativity, learn that we have the choice to get out of the negativity, to choose to be in the positive. And that's how we learn. Our whole purpose is to bring this understanding down into a human life so we can have fun just enjoying everything that's here. So the purpose of life is to realize that we are part of Source, that we are magnificent, that we can manifest things, that we do know everything if we allow ourselves to. So we may come down here and say, I'm going to do this very physical thing. And I don't care where it goes from there. I want to learn what it is to be in charge of a troop of 10,000 soldiers and be able to dictate their every move. And I don't care if I learn anything from it. It's almost like I'm playing a video game, and I want to be in charge. But underneath everything that you do is recorded. So when you go back home, it's like the photos we bring back from a trip.
Mm-hmm.
You examine and you re-experience. When you re-experience something, when you do something new, you can't help but learn from it. Even if your idea was just to have a vacation.
Just like that, I pictured myself leaving the Earth, and I pictured myself out in space looking at the Earth from not a considerable distance, but, you know, there's the Earth right in front of me. And what was so strange about looking at the Earth like that was that at that moment, you could have asked me any given moment in my life, because I just relived it, but you could have asked me any given moment in any person's life on that planet, and I could have told you. All of that information was right there. It was available. Not just any person living there now, any person that had ever lived there or ever would live there. All that information is all available. It's right there. And what kept going through my mind at this point was, oh, of course. I was, if you will, remembering what I had forgotten very intentionally in order to be on this planet, which is what we all do. In point of fact, I don't think that this planet exists. It's a figment of our imagination, if you will, and we have a very good imagination. We're incredibly creative beings. But whether or not it's for real doesn't really matter. The truth of the matter is that we know things when we're not here that we choose to forget while we are here. I make the analogy because I think it works so well. It's like when you're sitting in a chair reading a book that's a really good book that you're really involved in. Somebody could walk in the room and talk to you and you don't know they're there. Your focus of attention is not on the book, the story in the book. And you can get so preoccupied with that, you lose track of everything around you. You just tune all of that out and you focus on one thing. Similarly, you know everything about what your life's going to be like here. From beginning to end, you knew it before you got here, and you will know it again when you leave here. But while you're here, you're focused on it. And you're focused on each given moment in it. And when you leave here, it all comes rushing back and you say, of course, yes. That, and it's also simple. It's very simple. What is your life like when you're not here? If you try to define it, you run into problems because it is so simple that it's best described in English as this. You are. Stop. The minute you say anything other than that, you're talking about something earthly. We don't have English for other things. And probably more important, everything there is simpler than what it is here, not more complicated.
And the other places are the schools. Now they said in these schools, you also go to the level that you vibrate at, your frequency is at. You know, my idea of heaven, what they always talk about, floating around on a cloud, playing a harp, that'd be so boring. That's not for me. I'm always looking for information. My idea of heaven is the schools. Because in these schools, you can have all knowledge of anything you possibly want. Everything is possible to be learned over there. So I asked them, okay, if you can learn everything there is over there, why do you have to come back to Earth? Wouldn't that be easier? They said, no, because over there, it's like book reading versus hands-on experience. You can read about it, but you're not experiencing it. And they said you do. You learn a lot, but it'll take much, much longer because you're not having the hands-on experience, the interaction with people. Because they said, yeah, you can read about love, hate, jealousy. You say, well, it's not hard. I can do that. But you get down here and you get in the middle of it, everybody else's emotions. It's not easy at all. But you learn so much more than you would over there. It's just like if you went to college and took chemistry, you're in the laboratory. You can read about chemistry, you can read about the chemicals, but do you really understand it till you go into the library and start mixing the chemicals? You have to have the hands-on experience. The same way with learning auto mechanics. You can read about how a motor works and how to tear it apart and put it together, but do you really understand till you go and start taking it apart and putting it together? That's the difference. So they said that's why we choose to come back, because we can learn faster, we can pay our karma back, and we can be finished much easier. So we choose to come back, and we make our contracts with these other people. Now there is nobody sitting up there on a throne judging you and punishing you. People blame God for everything. Believe me, He is not doing this at all. You do it to yourself. You can't blame anybody but yourself. They say, I don't remember writing this script, but that's exactly what happens. You're the one who is writing this whole scenario. There's nobody up there who is judging you and punishing you. You see your life. You see what you have done. You see the people you have hurt. You make the contracts. You judge yourself. And there's no harsher judge than you yourself. You see, you're the one that are creating this because you know you have to pay these things back, and that's where karma comes in. So anyway, you make your contract, and you're ready to come back. Okay, you have your little package or your nice little plan. You come in and say, okay, I'm going to do all of this. I want to get it all done at one time. I want to really finish. I don't want to have to come back and do it again. This earth is hell. They've told me that many times. Earth is hell because that's where people hurt each other. It's not what you think it is. So that's why they don't want to really come here, but they know they have to in order to get it all worked out. So you make your plan. And the guides and the guardians and the elders and the masters are working with you as you're trying to make your plan. And sometimes they will give you 2 or 3 different scenarios you look at. This is the lives you could pick. Which one do you want to do? You want to be a man? You want to be a woman? Do you want to be an Eskimo? You want to be an Indian? What do you want to do? And you pick your scenario of what you want to be. Sometimes you want to take on too much because they'll say, I want to get it all done at one time. And they say, you know, it's not a very good idea. They can't tell you what to do. They can advise you, but they'll say, you know, it's going to be really hard if you do it like that. You said, oh, I don't care. I want to get it all done. It's like taking college and not leaving any time for extracurriculars. You just study all the time. You can't take it. It's too much. They said it doesn't matter if you get it all done at one time. You can always come back and do the rest. Do as much as you can, as good as you can. That's all you're expected to do. So they'll tell you, all right, if this is your decision, it's not going to be easy. We'll help you, but it's going to be hard. So you make the decision. You write the script. You pick the characters. You make all the agreements with them. I'm going to be your husband, wife, daughter. I'm going to meet you on a street corner sometime, and we'll be friends from then on. You try to write the whole scenario. You come in with your nice little plan, all wrapped up like a Christmas present. The problem is, this is a planet of free will. So everybody else is coming in with their nice little plan. So it's all going to clash. So what they always say about best laid plans, I've had them go through the death experience and they'll say, what happened? I had it all figured out. Life happened. So it's not perfect, but that's what it's all about. We're learning. We're learning lessons. We're trying to get better at it. We want to get off of the wheel until we can be finished and return to God and never have to come back here again. That's the idea. So we come in with our plan anyway. And to make it even more complicated, you're coming in with your plan, but you can't remember. Not allowed. What are the rules? Over there, everything is so clear, so plain, makes so much sense. But you come in, the blinders come down. You forget everything. And I asked them, I said, wouldn't it be a lot easier if we knew why we were coming here? We remembered. If we knew our connection with all these other people, wouldn't that make it a whole lot easier? They said, no, it wouldn't be a test if you knew the answers.
Well, it's important to understand that the judgment that it's a mistake, that is a very human reaction, but the soul has no such judgment of anything that we do. The soul views everything that happens on the earth plane as an opportunity for learning, for expansion, for healing. So if you are a terrorist and you hurt people, the soul has no judgment of that. The soul would conclude that you had lessons to learn and unexpressed pain to heal, but it wouldn't be viewed as bad or evil or sinful. Spirit just doesn't look at it like that.
The parts of the near-death experience that changed me the most was the next few parts, which was this feeling of oneness with everyone I'd known. And I think in these particular times, we need more of that. We need this understanding that what does all of this matter in 50 or 100 years? What matters is how kind we are to those around us. And this can include even people at a grocery store or a barista or anyone in our classes or people we work with, that we're connected energetically, that we're more of there's this oneness of energy that flows through all of humanity. And when you're unkind to people, it reflects back to you in certain ways. So I felt this just like general love for everyone that I'd ever known, and really kind of got it that when we leave here, all that we're taking with us is this kind of wish for humanity to do well, to be better, to be happy.
Okay, so then the first broad idea is personal expansion through the integration of experience and who we become, how we become more by experiencing being this human in this place. The second broad, this is super even harder to talk about. The super broad category is by living within a context of duality, we are providing opportunity for the expansion of what is. Okay, because by being something specific and manifest, by being this and not that, by being the male and not the female, by being old and not the young, by experiencing eating the cereal and not the pizza, whatever, you are adding to the experiential frontier of what actually is. I know that sounds kind of abstract, but it's actually a creative service to be engaged with manifest experience and then see how you can meet it. In fact, other reality systems, this is kind of a broad claim, I'm not going to try to get too much into this, but other reality systems rise up from the Earth experience and other experiences here in this type of reality. We are helping to add to what is simply by being here, simply even by needing or wanting. Like even the experience of lacking something. Oh, I really yearn for that. Even that has a meaning within all that is, because now you know what it is to yearn. Now that can be filled. You see, it's by experiencing a depth of contrast. It is actually adding to its opposite. I don't want to limit it to that though, because it's more than that. It can't be spoken of. All I can say is that by being here every day, we are performing a creative service. A service that is not apparent to us necessarily from the very local, human-focused vantage point. So I'm going to go from that very broad idea to the most mundane metaphor I can possibly think of. So imagine that you sit on your couch all the time, and your couch is nice and comfy, and you're at home, and you're watching TV, and everything's good and peachy, and then one day you say, you know what, I think I'm going to go for a run. And you get up from the couch, from the comfort. Why? Why leave the comfort of the couch? Because there's something in going for a run. There's something in the stress of having that experience. And then you come back, and when you come back, you're stronger. And now the couch is comfortable in a way that it wasn't even before, because now you understand what it's like to not be on the couch. You see, it's a very simple and almost, it's kind of a dumb metaphor. But it's the simplest thing I can think of for how do we possibly express why we're here? Well, again, there's 1,000 reasons and more, and I can't possibly speak to them. But if you imagine within the greater context of who we are as beings who are immortal, we are immortal, beings who have ultimate freedom, no limitation. What can it be like to come here and know limitation? You're doing it right now. You're knowing limitation right now. And that is not only a gift, it is a service. Being human is a blessing. There's only so many slots. There's only so many opportunities. The number of spirits vastly outnumbers the number of human characters that we are playing at this moment. The breadth of all that is beyond imagining in scope. It is so breathtakingly vast. But you were the one given to the opportunity to be you, to be this human in this place, just you. Out of all the breadth and scope of all of creation, you were given the opportunity to be here today, to make the choices you will make today, to eat your next meal, to love the person next to you, not anybody else, you. What an honor and what a profound gift.
I wonder what you would do if you had the power to dream at night any dream you wanted to dream. And you would, of course, be able to alter your time sense and slip, say, 75 years of subjective time into 8 hours of sleep. You would, I suppose, start out by fulfilling all your wishes. You could design for yourself what would be the most ecstatic life. Love affairs, banquets, wonderful journeys, gardens, music beyond belief. And after several nights of 75 years of total pleasure each, you would say, well, that was pretty great. But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control. Well, something is going to happen to me that I don't know what it's going to be. And you would move over to an adventurous dimension, where there were certain dangers involved and the thrill of dealing with dangers. And you could rescue princesses from dragons and go on dangerous journeys, make wonderful explosions and blow them up, and eventually get into contest with enemies. And after you've done that for some time, you'll think up a new wrinkle to forget that you were dreaming, so that you would think it was all for real, and to be anxious about it. And then, because it'd be so great when you woke up, and then you'd say, well, like children who dare each other on things, how far out could you get? What could you take? What dimension of being lost, of abandonment of your power, what dimension of that could you stand? You could ask yourself this because you know you'd eventually wake up. And after you'd gone on doing this, you see, for some time, you would suddenly find yourselves sitting around in this room with all your personal involvements, problems, etc., talking with me. How do you know that's not what you're doing? Could be. Because after all, what would you do if you were God? If you were what there is, the self. For if you were God, and in this sense that you knew everything, and you were completely transparent to yourself through and through, you would be bored. So in this idea then, everybody is fundamentally the ultimate reality. Not God in a politically kingly sense, but God in the sense of being the self, the deep down basic whatever there is. And you're all that, only you're pretending you're not.